For part D, we have y equals negative x squared. And what we notice is there's this negative in front of the x squared. And coincidentally, we have one graph left. But when you see that negative in front of the x squared, that means the parabola is going to be flipped and go down like a frown. So therefore, it's still going to be at the origin, like part C, and it's facing down. So part D is matched with graph C. Now we can match each equation with its description. For part 1, we have x squared minus 9. And when it's on the outside, that means we're moving either up or down. And given that it's a negative 9, that means it's going to go down 9 units. So that would be for part C. Number 2, we have x squared plus 9. So which way is the plus 9 telling us to go? The plus 9 is telling us to go up 9 units. So it is with B, up 9 units. Part 3, we have the quantity x minus 9 squared. When it's inside, this tells us the graph is going to move either left or right. And when you see the negative sign, think of the opposite. So you're going to move right 9 units. So that goes with part D. For part 4, we have x, the quantity x plus 9 squared. And again, when it's inside the parentheses, we are going to go left or right. And when we see that plus 9, think of the opposite, and we're going to move left 9 units. A parabola is the graph of a quadratic function. This is what we've been talking about, parabolas. So this should look like a review. We have a quadratic function, which is an equation that can be written in the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equal to 0. The standard form of this equation is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. A translation is a change in position of an object or graph. Which of the following are a translation of y equals x squared? So for part A, is the y equals x squared plus 6 a translation of the graph y equals x squared? That means, is it moving up or down or left or right? We know this plus 6 means that we are moving up 6 units. So yes, this is a translation of the y equals x squared. Part B, we have y equals 3x squared. Is this a translation for the graph y equals x squared? Does it change position? No, this 3x squared neither goes up nor down or right or left. So it is not a translation. Part C says y equals the quantity x minus 1 squared. Is this a translation of the graph y equals x squared? Is it moving up or down or left or right? When that -1 is inside the parentheses, that means we're moving left or right. And in this case, we're moving right. So yes, it is a translation. Describe the translation of y equals -0.5x squared for each of the following. Part A, we have the y equals -0.5x squared minus 2. So what does this minus 2 tell us it's doing? When it's on the outside of the set of parentheses, we know it's moving up or down. And in this case, it's moving down 2 units. Now for part B, we have y equals -0.5 times the quantity x plus 4 squared. So this plus 4 is inside the set of parentheses. So that means it's going to either move left or right. And when it's plus 4, we have to think of the opposite. So it'll be left 4 units. Now for part C, what you should notice is that we have something inside the set of parentheses as well as something outside the set of parentheses. When we see that -1 inside the parentheses, we know it's going to either move left or right. With the -1, it tells us we're going to move right 1 unit. But we're not done yet. We still have to do something with this plus 3. When it's on the outside of the parentheses, we're moving either up or down. And when it's a positive 3, we are moving up 3 units. So for this equation, the parabola moved both right 1 unit and up 3 units. Here are some translation rules. And C, remember that C represents any number. When it goes up, that means C is going to be on the outside of that set of parentheses. And since it's on the outside of that parentheses, we're going to move up C units. Then for down, we have x squared minus C. That means we're going to move down C units. When we move left, we have the quantity x plus C squared. That C is inside the parentheses, and the plus sign tells us to think oppositely, and we're moving left C units. Then we have right. The x minus C quantity squared, that C is inside the parentheses, and when we see the negative sign, that means we think oppositely and we move right C units. When a parabola gets flipped, we are going to have a negative sign in front of the x squared. So that means it's going to face down like a frown. We have an equation called the vertex form. Once we have the vertex form, we can identify an H and a K. This H and K define our vertex of the parabola. But also be careful with the signs on H. Even though there's this minus H, you want to do the opposite sign for your vertex. So even though this is a minus h, we have a positive h in our vertex. And then k is listed just as k. So for this example, we're going to find the coordinates of the vertex of the graph y equals 3 times the quantity x minus 4 squared plus 1. Our h is that 4 right here. Now be mindful that that does have the minus sign, but we are not putting that minus sign there. We do the opposite of that. So it's going to be a positive 4 for h. Then we have our k. With the k, whatever is there, we just write in. So it is a plus 1, so we're going to write a positive 1. So the vertex of this graph is 4, 1. If a quadratic equation is not in standard form, how can you find the y-intercept? First we need to remember what is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where our parabola crosses the y-axis. So when we think about when we use that 0, where are we going to put the 0 to solve to find our y-intercept? We are going to put our 0 in for x. So we would put y equals 3 times the quantity 0 plus 2 squared minus 4. Then we will have y equals 3, 0 plus 2 is just 2, so we're going to make that 2 squared minus 4. 2 squared is 4. Then just tack on that minus 4. And then we have 3 times 4, which is 12, minus 4. And 12 minus 4 is 8. So our y-intercept is 0, 8. And that will conclude our lesson.